Yeah. So today I want to talk about the weirdest guy I ever met while I was busted. And homie, it was a trip, right? So I'm gonna let you know, and I'm gonna speak a lot about my perspective back then while I was there, you know what I mean? But then afterwards I want to talk about my perspective now as an adult. But yeah, so what's crazy about the juvenile system is there's not a lot of separation. Like they don't they bunk you up with anyone in juvenile hall, right? So it doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter who you bang with, none of that shit. Like if there's a fucking room available, they're gonna throw you in there. They don't give a fuck, you know what I mean? Sometimes you get put in there with enemies and shit, they don't give a fuck, you know what I mean? It's just like, get your ass in there, right? So I think I was coming back from Central or Silmore, and I'm back at LP, which is where I normally had to go to court and shit. That's where they house me at and shit. And so they throw me in the room, right? And I get in the room with this guy, short little guy and shit. And they hit him up, hey, where you from, homie? He's like, I'm from Playboys. I was like, oh, cool, Monteflores. Shook his hand, started chopping it up with him. And right away I knew, like, man, this guy's kind of off, you know what I mean? So fucking, we're talking and he's like fucking wild and shit, like telling me these crazy ass stories. And I'm just tripping out like, oh, this was fucking burnt the fuck out, you know what I mean? And I saw he was missing a thumb and shit, you know what I mean? And I was like, hey Gomez, we'll call him Gomez. That's not his name, I don't want to put him out there, so we'll call him Gomez. Hey Gomez, what the fuck happened to your thumb, man? How you lose your thumb, man? And he's like, oh, well, earlier he had let me know that he lived in placements and shit. His mom had passed away, so he grew up in like group homes and placements and shit. But he was like, yeah, when I was at a placement in fucking Pomona, I used to always carry a sword back of my jacket and shit. And I reached for my sword and I chopped my finger off. I was like, what the fuck? Like, that was weird, right? So I started laughing, like, oh shit, you used to carry a sword everywhere? And Pomona and shit, right? Like, Pomona's a fucking city. Like, that shit's not no fucking backwoods and shit, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh yeah? I was like, hey, did you ever have to use that shit on an enemiga? He's like, all the time. And it's crazy because, like, he's serious about this shit, you know what I mean? And I can see, like, this fool's full of shit. I don't know if he believes himself or what, like, but he's fucking, like, he's saying it, like, with a straight face. And I said, when'd you have to use that shit, fool? And he's like, wow. One time when I was at Pomona, I was on my bike. I had my sword with me, and I bump into this guy, and I'm like, hey, where you from? And then the guy's like, I'm from 18th Street. And he's like, what? This is Playboys. And fucking, so he fucking says he pulls the sword out and sticks it at his throat and shit, right? And that the guy's like, oh, don't kill me, I'll do anything. And then he's like, stick your hand out. Like, you made him stick his hand out? He's like, yeah, I made him stick his hand out. Like, so he puts his hand out, right? Puts his hand out like this and shit. And he's like, and after that, I took my sword off and I chopped his hand off. I started like, oh shit. Like, you chopped his fucking hand off? He's like, yeah, I chopped his hand off. I was like, damn, what happened? Did he end up running? He's like, no, I put the sword back in his throat. And I told him, put your other hand out. And I was like, nah, no fucking way. He didn't do that shit though, right? He's like, no, he did. He put his other hand out. And I chopped his hand off. And I was like, oh shit. And then fucking I was like, damn, fool. And like, he didn't call the cops or nothing. Like, you let you punk him and chop his hands off. Like, he didn't do anything. He didn't fight. He didn't call the cops. But he's like, he couldn't call the cops. He didn't have no hands. And I started fucking cracking up. Like, oh, this fool's fucking burnt. You know what I mean? And so if that was the end of the story, that wouldn't be that bad. You know what I mean? There's a gang of motherfuckers like that. But yeah, so I was there with him for a little bit. I go to court. They give me another court date. I go back to Central or Silmore. I forgot where they put me at and shit. And then after I get sentenced to YA and shit, I go to the YA unit, and he's right there. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, another fool from, like, really, a real cat from Playboys rolls up and shit. And I was like, oh yeah, that fool right there, that's your homie right there. He says he's from Playboys. And he's like, man, that fool's a square ass bitch. That fool ain't from my neighborhood. And I was like, oh shit, right? So this fool tells him, hey, come here, ese. And that fool comes to the table. Hey, like, check this shit out, fool. You ain't from my barrio. Keep Playboys out your mouth. If you're gonna say you're from Playboys, you better say you from Playboy Gangsta Crip or something. And so I'm like, oh shit, like you don't let nobody tell you where you're from or keep anything out your mouth. Like, hell nah, right? Like, so I'm expecting Gomez to take flight and shit. But he just fucking leaves it at that. He's like, all right, puts his head down and walks away. I'm like, this fool's a fucking sucker, man. Like, that's some bitch shit, you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, man, this fool ain't no G. Like, this fool's a coward. And not only is he a fucking liar, but full of shit, but he's a fucking coward, you know what I mean? Fool should have took flight. Like, homie or not, I don't give a fuck. Like, nobody's gonna tell you what the fuck, where you from, and none of that shit. Like, you represent what you want to represent, you know what I mean? And so I see this fool. I end up going to, that was in the wire unit. I ended up going to Nellis and shit. Go to Hayes Cottage, and I see fucking Gomez in Hayes Cottage and shit. And I bullshit you not, this fool's claiming Playboy Gangsta Crip. I'm like, what the fuck? But you know, the blacks don't fuck with that fool. Like, first of all, he's a short, like paisa Mexican guy, you know what I mean? And like, not that the blacks when I fucked with them based on that, but like, it's just funny because like he claimed Playboys like 13. Like he said he was a Southsider and shit, and now he's a Gangsta Crip supposedly. But the Crips don't claim that fool. You know, they're like, man, this fool's a square. You know what I mean? Fuck this fool and shit. And so it's funny, like that fool had it bad though. Like, I kind of feel bad looking back because that fool was broke. Like, he had no family. You know what I mean? So he really didn't have nothing. Like, he wasn't one of them. They used to call them cases. Like, fools needed to be taken care of and shit, or fools that had like no say so were called cases. So like he was a case, but he didn't have like no protection. He had nobody looking out for him. Like, he didn't have nothing to offer, you know what I mean? Like, fucking, so I was kind of fucked up for that fool. And yeah, so it's crazy. One day fucking that fool, like, sometimes he could be annoying, you know what I mean? Like, he's a little weird ass fucking annoying fool sometimes. So one day, we watched this movie Pootie Tang, and I thought that shit was fucking hilarious. The way homie would take off his belt and smack people in the face with it, right? I thought that shit was fucking hilarious. So low-key I wanted to try that shit on somebody. And fucking Gomez ends up sitting next to me, or we're gonna watch another movie. He ends up sitting next to me like, hey, Gomez, bounce. You can't sit right here. Like, fucking, I wanna watch this movie, I don't want you near me. And I don't know where the fuck this fool just thought he could man up and shit. He's like, I'll sit wherever the fuck I want. I said, man, fool, I'll smack you in the fucking face with this belt, bitch. You better bounce. And that fool's like, smack me with that belt on my mama. And I took out the belt and I said, man, fuck your mama. Boom! I smacked him in the face with the belt. And then he's like, oh, what the fuck? Smack me again? I said, man, fuck that shit. I just got up, like I'm at the bomb on this fucking case, you know what I mean? So I go over there and I take flight on this fool. Boom, 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 boom. We start getting him up and shit. Get sprayed with mace. And I think it's over, right? So I get tackled to the ground. And fucking, I get tackled to the ground and shit. And then I hear, get down, get down. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, what happened? Like, I can't see because I got like mace in my eyes. And fucking, well, it turns out my boy ended up stomping him out while he was on the ground, you know, just for getting out of line. Like, who the fuck does fool think he is, you know what I mean? Thinks he could get down and shit, thinks he got some kind of fucking balls. So my boy started stomping him out, like fucking so he can know his place and shit. And we ended up going to lock up for that shit. So they got us with a group attack. I was like, for real, man, like, it's hard to fight it though, because I can't, you know, you can't really fight that shit, because what are you gonna say? Like, nah, he jumped him, and nah, you can't point fingers like that. So I just like, fuck it, ate it up, took the time out, whatever, man. I got fucking time out for jumping somebody. It wasn't even jumping, like I was on the ground, you know what I mean? But whatever, man. So that was Gomez right there. Like, he was just a fucking punk ass fool claiming Playboy Gangsta Crip, and fucking nobody really took him seriously. So I end up going to Preston to go to fire camp. I don't make it there, so I go to YTS. And I had finished school in Nellis. I got my GED and shit. So when I got to YTS, they needed workers for facility planning. and they're like, hey, you're finished with school, why don't you go and fucking do some facility planning and shit. So basically what that is we were trying to revamp the institutions and shit. I did that shit at Dallas for a little bit. So it's like you're in part of a construction crew. You're trying to, you know, fix up the institutions and shit, get them back up to like state-of-the-art status and shit, which is kind of fucked up. So they're kind of getting you, who's already locked up, to like make the building secure, like just basically keep you in there. It's kind of fucked up if you think about it. So fucking I'm doing facility planning, and then some of the buildings at YTS, they had the fucking where you could talk to them, right? They had like the windows where you could talk to them. It's kind of like fucking like right here. There's like a window, but it's kind of like mesh, kind of like a wiry mesh kind of thing. And the other ones had actual glass ones, and those were the updated ones. So when I'm working on them, right, we're gonna start fixing the windows. We're looking at different things we're gonna do. I hear somebody talking through one of those buildings that haven't been fixed yet. Cricket. Like, what the fuck? Who is that? And I look, and it's like, oh shit, fucking Gomez. And he was in the sex offender unit. But I knew he wasn't a sex offender. So I was just like, hey, what the fuck you doing here, fool? And he's like, oh, fool, I went to Preston, and shit turned out bad for me. I said, damn, worse than it already was. Like, what happened, fool? He's like, well, when I got to Preston, fucking, I linked up with the Woods, started riding with the Woods. Look at the Woods. Like, what the fuck, fool? Like, Dick, you're Mexican, fool. You're riding with the Woods. And like, he's like, yeah, fool. He's like, so they wanted me to, you know, start attacking people. So I started riding on people, started riding on everybody. And I guess he had two swastikas put on his chest. I was like, oh, this fool's fucking trippy. Gomez is burnt the fuck out. So they made him put swastikas on him. He put those shits on him and shit. And I guess fucking he thought he was a rider and shit, right? So he ends up going to lockup. And I guess while in lockup, he's bunked up with another white boy and shit, or not another one, but a white boy and shit. And fucking he sees the swastikas. He starts talking to him. It's like if you really want to be down with us, you got to put in major work. And they wanted him to like basically attack like black people on sight. You know what I mean? So this fool makes him tattoo NK on him. You know what I mean? And that's like, K is like killer, and N is, you know, the N word, like a derogatory word for African Americans and shit. So he tattoos that on himself, and he does that while he's up north. And see but the crazy thing is that not only attracts the attention of, you know, African Americans up north, but N is also like for norteños, right? So he says the N, you know, and then the K, which, you know what I mean? Like I said earlier, stands for killer. So supposedly this fool's a killer, and then he'll take his aggression out on, you know what I mean, blacks, and norteños took it as norteños. So they see him, they're like, what the fuck? That's an eye buster. It's called an eye buster, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, hell no. So they start jumping this fool. Oh man, fucking, this fool starts getting fucked up all up north and shit, right? And yeah, they had to transfer him out of Preston. And because he has that shit in YTS, like, a lot of the blacks have him on site, so he has like nowhere to go. So they put him in INJ with the sex offenders, which had a gang of white boys in there. And now they're running up on him because he had the swastikas on him, but he felt like he got played, so he fucking crossed them out. So he's like, fool, the white boys keep rushing me. And I was like, oh, you're fucking burned out, Gomez. Like, it's crazy because he claimed like everything there is to claim, really. Like, he started off as a Southsider, he ends up being a gangster crip, then like some fucking Peckerwood neo-Nazi kind of guy. I'm not even sure like what his ideology was with them, because it's different. Peckerwoods and neo-Nazis and shit, they're like a different kind of white boy and shit. Basically the same kind of racist ideas and shit, but you know, they're a little different. So like I met Woods and said they weren't even racist, you know what I mean? But they just believe in, you know, their race, like fucking, they have pride in it like everybody else. So that's what they said, you know what I mean? I don't know, but fucking So like he went to everywhere, right? And nobody accepted him and shit. And at the end, he's locked up in a fucked up unit. You know what I mean? Fucking having a program with fucking weirdos and shit, right? And yeah, so that was Gomez. Like you could never get a fucking lucky break. Like this fool always bites off more than he could chew, and that's the way he was. And he was just a trip. Like he was a fucking trip. Like he could not win. So that's what I thought about him back then. But now I get kind of sad thinking about it, because I'm like, man, this is a little kid. Because I met him when we were young. We're like 15, 16 years old. And then by the time I saw him last time, we were about 20 years old and shit. And I was like, damn, like, looking back now, I think this motherfucker needed some guidance. Like, he lost his parents, you know what I mean? He had no mom. He never even met his dad. He grew up in group homes. And he just all he wanted was some acceptance, a sense of family, some kind of guidance, right? But he couldn't find that anywhere he went. He could not find it. And it's unfortunate because people preyed on him. He had some kind of learning disability. Like you could tell, maybe it was some kind of mental illness. And people preyed on that shit and exploited that shit. And it's fucked up. It goes back to what I always say, like, there were certain people that should have not been locked up with us. You know what I mean? Because a lot of us were like aggressive, we didn't give a fuck. Like we adapted to anything, right? But nah, this fool did not adapt well. He tried and he failed multiple times because that wasn't in him. All he needed was somebody to show him some kind of support, some kind of affection, to just say, hey, I'm here for you, right? But nobody was there for that fool, unfortunately, you know what I mean? And it's kind of fucked up. Makes me wonder how many other people, you know what I mean, just needed that, couldn't find it, and ended up looking in the wrong places. But yeah, that's the weirdest cat I've ever been busted with, for real, hands down. And hope he's doing well now. Alright, that's it everybody. I'm out. Catch you later. Peace.